Hey there. Tonight we're going back, way back, to a time they never taught you in school. You are standing in the Peruvian desert, year 450 CE. The sand stretches endlessly before you, and rising from the dunes are massive earthen pyramids, not stone, but compacted clay and adobe. This is Cavalry, the ceremonial city of the dead, and you are about to live through its final, bloodiest days. Your name is Quilca. You are a warrior priest, 23 winters old, marked by ritual scars across your chest. You serve the great temple complex, Shahu, the sacred mounds where ancestors sleep in bundled cloth. But tonight, everything changes. Tonight, rival clans from the highlands descend upon your city, hungry for water rights, for power, for the geoglyphs that grant divine favor. You've never killed a man before. You've offered llamas to Pachamama. You've woven ceremonial textiles. You've fasted for 40 days to hear the earth's whispers. But war? War is coming down that dusty road right now, and your hands are shaking as you grip your makana, a wooden club embedded with obsidian shards. So, dim the lights, get comfortable. Let me tell you what happens when the ceremonial city of the dead becomes a city of the dying. You're in the main plaza of Cavalry, and the sun is setting blood red over the great temple mound. The stepped pyramid rises 40 meters behind you, its mud brick walls painted in faded ochre and white. Your feet are bare, as tradition demands for all who walk these sacred grounds. The dust is warm between your toes, and you can feel every pebble, every imperfection in the ceremonial courtyard. Around you, 37 other warrior priests are assembling, their faces painted with red mineral dye extracted from cinnabar. They are your brothers, though many you barely know. Some have come from the satellite settlements of Ventilla and Jumana, called here by the emergency conch shell signals that echoed across the valley 3 days ago. You wear a simple tunic of undyed cotton, bound at the waist with a cord woven from camelid fiber. No armor. The Nazca people do not forge metal for war. Your protection comes from ritual, from the blessings painted on your skin, from the amulets of carved bone hanging around your neck. In your right hand, the makana feels heavier than it should. You have practiced with it, of course. Every warrior priest must, but always on straw dummies, never on flesh that bleeds and screams. Your left hand unconsciously touches the clay whistle tucked into your belt, shaped like a condor. It is meant to summon the spirits. Tonight, you suspect you will need them. The high priest, Malku, emerges from the great temple's entrance. He is ancient, perhaps 60 winters, which is almost mythical longevity in these harsh times. His face is a landscape of wrinkles, each line a story of droughts endured, sacrifices performed, visions received. He wears a headdress of condor feathers, each plume as long as your forearm, and a cloak made from hundreds of tiny hummingbird skins stitched together, shimmering iridescent in the dying light. You have seen him perform ceremonies where he goes 3 days without water, speaking in tongues that sound like wind through canyons. Now he moves slowly down the temple steps, and every warrior falls silent. His eyes are clouded with cataracts, but you know he sees more than any of you. He sees the threads of fate, the patterns in sand and stars. Malku raises one withered hand, and when he speaks, his voice is surprisingly strong, carrying across the plaza like a clay drum's resonance. The Huarpa clans come, he says. They have burned the village of Tambo Viejo. 40 souls now walk with the ancestors. They seek our water channels, our geoglyphs, our sacred connection to the earth veins. He pauses, and in that silence, you hear your own heartbeat, fast and rabbit quick. We are not warriors by nature, Malku continues. We are keepers of ceremony, weavers of meaning. But tonight, we become something else. Tonight, we defend what our ancestors built over 300 years. He descends the final step, and you see that he carries a ceramic vessel, painted with images of decapitated heads, sprouting bean plants, trophy head imagery, the old magic of transforming death into life. Malku approaches you directly. Of all the warriors assembled, he walks toward you, and your stomach clenches. You want to step back, but your feet might as well be adobe bricks, rooted to the earth. He stops close enough that you smell him, a mixture of chicha corn beer, smoke from sacred fires, and something else, something like dried flowers and old parchment, the scent of extreme age. Quilca, he says, and hearing your name from his lips feels like being touched by lightning. You are the son of Tupac, who died building the Great Temple's 6th terrace. You are the nephew of Mama Kori, who wove the finest textiles ever offered to the earth. You carry their strength, even if you do not feel it. He places one hand on your shoulder, and his touch is surprisingly warm, papery skin but solid grip. Tonight, you will lead the defense of the northern geoglyph, the great hummingbird etched into the pampa. It is 300 paces long, and it has blessed our people with swift feet and sharp eyes for 7 generations. The Huarpa must not defile it with their blood or ours. You want to protest. You want to say that you are not ready, that you have never led anyone, that you still sometimes wake from nightmares of your father falling from the temple's scaffolding, his cry cutting short as he hit the ground. But Malku's eyes, clouded as they are, seem to see inside you, and you find yourself nodding. He releases your shoulder and pours a small amount of liquid from the ceramic vessel into your cupped hands. It is dark red, almost black, and smells of fermented fruit and copper. Drink, he commands. It is mixed with the blood of the first warrior priest of Kawachi. It will make you brave. The liquid tastes like nothing you have ever experienced. It burns going down your throat, not with heat but with something else. A metallic, electric sensation that spreads from your tongue to your chest to your limbs. You swallow it all, every drop, and hand the vessel back to Malku with trembling fingers. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, your vision sharpens. The plaza, which had been growing dim with evening, suddenly seems bright again, every detail crystalline. You can see individual grains of sand on the ground, can count the woven threads in the tunic of the warrior standing 20 paces away, can distinguish 17 different shades of red in the sunset sky. Your heartbeat, which had been racing, slows to a powerful, steady drum. You feel your father's hands guiding yours, feel your aunt's patient teachings flowing through your blood. Is this real? Is this the ancestor blood working, or simply your mind accepting what must be? It does not matter. What matters is that when you grip the makana now, it feels light, extension of your arm rather than foreign object. Malku nods, satisfied, and moves on to bless 3 other warriors in similar fashion. Around you, the preparations intensify. Women from the temple complex, the weavers, the chicha brewers, the keepers of the sacred seeds, emerge carrying supplies. Gourds of water, strips of dried llama meat, bundles of darts for the atlatls that some warriors carry. An old woman, face tattooed with geometric patterns, presses something into your hand, a small cotton bundle. For wounds, she whispers. Inside is powdered ureta resin. It stops bleeding. You nod thanks and tuck it into your belt beside the condor whistle. The reality settles over you like a heavy blanket. This is truly happening. Tonight you will fight. Tonight you might die. The others are strangers. A tall, scarred man named Chaska who has fought before, against raiders from the mountain territories. twin brothers, Yupanqui and Tupac, named for your dead father, which sends a shiver through you, who work as canal diggers and have arms like tree branches. An old veteran named Hatun, whose left hand is missing 3 fingers from some long-ago accident, but who carries a sling with stone projectiles with terrifying casualness. And several others whose names you learn quickly: Kusik, Sumac, Puma, Waira, Ilapa. You must remember them. You must keep them alive if you can. We move to the northern geoglyph now, you tell them, and your voice sounds steadier than you feel. The hummingbird is the fastest of spirits. We will be as swift and as unexpected as hummingbird flight. It sounds good. You have no idea if it means anything, but Chaska nods approvingly, and that gives you courage. You lead them out of the plaza, walking north along the ancient pathway that pilgrims have trodden for centuries, their feet wearing the earth smooth. The desert opens before you. Above, the first stars are appearing, and you can make out the dark ribbon of the dry Rio Nazca bed to your east, where water flows only during the brief rainy season, but where underground aquifers sustain your civilization like hidden veins. After 3,000 paces, you reach the geoglyph. Even in the growing darkness, the lines are visible. Shallow trenches revealing pale, subsurface soil against the darker desert pavement. The hummingbird stretches before you, massive beyond comprehension, its wings spread in eternal flight, its long needle beak pointing toward the distant mountains. From ground level, you can barely perceive the full shape, but you have seen it from the nearby hill during ceremonies, and the image is burned into your memory. This is not just art, this is prayer made physical, a message to the sky gods, maintained by careful stone removal for generations. Your grandmother worked on these lines, carefully displacing the dark, oxidized pebbles to reveal the lighter earth below. The geoglyph is perhaps 300 years old, though some say older. You position your warriors at strategic points along the hummingbird's outline. If the Huarpa clans come this way, they will disturb the sacred lines, and that disturbance will be spiritual desecration as much as tactical advantage. You place Chaska and the twins at the bird's beak, the narrowest point, where enemies will be funneled. Hatun and the slingers take position on a small rise near the wing, where they can rain projectiles down. You keep the youngest warriors, including Amaru, close to you at the body's center. The night deepens. The moon is only a sliver, which is both blessing and curse. Harder for enemies to see you, harder for you to see them. You sit on the desert floor, obsidian-studded makana across your knees, and wait. Waiting is the worst part. Your mind spirals through possibilities. What if they do not come this way? What if they are already past you? You wait for what feels like hours, but might only be one. The desert night is cold. The temperature drops dramatically after sunset in this arid landscape, and you can see your breath misting slightly. Your fingers grow stiff around the makana's shaft. Then, Waira, positioned farthest north along the hummingbird's tail, gives a low whistle, the prearranged warning signal. Movement ahead. You rise silently, every muscle tensed. The other warriors shift into ready positions. Through the darkness, you begin to distinguish shapes, figures moving across the desert floor, perhaps 40 paces away now. How many? You try to count, but they are shadows within shadows. At least 20, maybe 30. They are walking directly toward the geoglyph, apparently unaware or uncaring of its sacred nature. You can hear them now, low conversation in a dialect that sounds similar to your own language, but with harsher consonants, words that bite. The Huarpa, they are real. Until this moment, some part of you hoped this was elaborate drill, fearsome ceremony, but not actual war. Now you see the proof. Men armed with clubs and spears and throwing stones. Men who have walked from the highlands to take what your people have built. Your hand finds the condor whistle at your belt. The plan, discussed briefly before you left the plaza, is simple. Let them enter the geoglyph's interior, then sound the alarm to summon other warrior groups while engaging them here, preventing their advance. Simple. Suicidal, perhaps, but simple. You watch them come closer. 30 paces. 20. You can see individual figures now, one taller than the rest, likely their leader, wearing what appears to be a puma skin cloak. Another carries a torch, which seems foolish for stealth, but helpful for your purposes. They are inside the geoglyph now. 10 paces. You can smell them. Sweat, wood smoke, the tang of coca leaves they have been chewing for endurance. Then, impossibly, he smiles. Nazca dogs, he calls out in that harsh dialect. We know you are here. We can smell your fear. Come out and die like men, or hide like women and die anyway. It is a trap, you think. He does not really know. He is guessing, trying to provoke a response. But then one of the younger warriors on your left, Kusik, you think, panics. He stands and throws his spear, a desperate, terrified motion. The spear flies through the darkness and catches a Huarpa warrior in the shoulder. Not a killing blow, but enough to spin the man around with a scream. And just like that, the battle begins. Everything happens at once. The Huarpa warriors charge forward with war cries that sound like jaguars shrieking. You raise the condor whistle to your lips and blow. The sound pierces the night, a shrill call that will summon help, though help is far away and may arrive too late. Hatun and the slingers release their first volley of stones, and you hear impacts, hear grunts and cries. Then the enemy is upon you, and there is no more time for thinking, only for surviving. The first Huarpa warrior reaches you, swinging a club studded with sharp stones. You react without thinking. The ceremonial blood in your veins does the thinking for you. You sidestep, and his club whistles past your ear, close enough to feel the wind. Your Makana comes up and catches him in the ribs. The obsidian shards bite deep, and you feel the resistance of flesh, and then the give as the weapon breaks through. Hot blood sprays across your face, your chest. The man screams and falls. You have just killed your first human being. You are 23 years old, and you have just ended someone else's existence. There is no time to process this. Another enemy is already there, stabbing at you with a fire-hardened wooden spear. You knock it aside with the Makana, but the force jars your arms, makes your shoulders sing with pain. He thrusts again, and this time the spear tip catches your left forearm, cutting a long line of fire across your skin. You feel warm blood running down to your elbow, but the wound is not deep. You step inside his guard and bring your knee up into his stomach, and as he doubles over, you strike down with the Makana. He drops. Around you, the battle is a confusion of shadows and screams. You see Amaru, your cousin, wrestling with a Huarpa warrior on the ground, both of them with knives out, stabbing wildly. You see Chaska, the veteran, methodically working through opponents like a farmer harvesting maize. Strike, step, each motion efficient. You see one of the young warriors, Sumak, take a spear through his belly and go down, his scream cutting off abruptly in a way that makes your stomach drop. You fight your way toward Amaru, but before you reach him, he manages to plunge his obsidian knife into his opponent's throat, and the Huarpa warrior convulses and goes still. Amaru rolls away, his face a mask of shock. "Stay with me!" you shout at him, and he nods, stumbling to his feet. Together, you face the next wave. The Huarpa are pushing hard now, trying to break through to the geoglyph's center. You count rapidly. You have lost Sumak, maybe 2 others, hard to tell in the chaos. The enemy has lost perhaps 8 or 9, but they still have numerical advantage. Your arms are growing tired. The makana, which felt light earlier, now feels like it is made of stone. Each swing requires more effort. Your forearm wound is still bleeding, making your grip slippery. Then you see the Huapa leader, the tall one in the puma skin, cutting through your warriors like they are wheat stalks. His mace rises and falls, and each time it connects, bone breaks. He is heading straight for you, eyes locked on yours. He recognizes you as the leader, wants to take you down to demoralize your group. Smart tactics. You set your feet, plant yourself on the pale soil of the hummingbird's breast. This is your ground, your ancestors' ground. Amaru positions himself at your left, breathing hard but steady. The Huapa leader closes the distance. Up close, he is even bigger than you thought, easily a head taller than you, arms thick as your thighs. His face is painted with soot and what might be dried blood. When he speaks, his teeth are stained red with coca. "Little priest," he says. "Did they teach you how to die in that mud temple?" The Huapa leader swings his mace. You do not try to block it. The force would shatter your makana and probably your arm. Instead, you drop low, sliding beneath the blow, and slash upward at his exposed side. Your obsidian blades catch him across the ribs, opening a long gash through the puma skin and into flesh. He grunts, more surprise than pain, and backhands you with his free hand. His knuckles connect with your cheekbone, and lights explode across your vision. You are falling backward, hitting the ground hard, and your makana goes flying from your grip. Above you, the leader raises his mace for a killing blow. This is how you die, you think with strange clarity. 23 years, and this is the final moment. Then Amaru is there, leaping onto the leader's back like a mountain cat, his knife seeking the man's throat. The leader roars and spins, trying to throw Amaru off, and the mace swing goes wild, missing you by a hand's breadth. You scramble away, searching desperately for your makana. Your hands close on something else, a stone, one of Hatun's sling projectiles that has fallen spent to the ground. The Huapa leader has managed to tear Amaru off his back and throws him to the ground. He raises his foot to stomp on your cousin's head. Without thinking, you charge forward and smash the stone into the side of the leader's knee with all your remaining strength. Something crunches. The leader howls and staggers. His knee buckles at an unnatural angle. You hit it again and again until he falls, until he is down, until he is no longer a threat. Amaru is beside you, and together you pin the leader down. Around you, the Huapa warriors have seen their leader fall. Some continue fighting, but others are backing away, uncertain. The tide is shifting. You hear the condor whistle again, but not yours. This one comes from the south, from the direction of Kawachi. Reinforcements. Through your exhaustion, through the pain in your cheekbone and your bleeding arm, you feel a surge of hope. Shapes emerge from the darkness. More warrior priests, perhaps 20 of them, led by Malku himself, despite his age. The high priest moving with surprising speed across the desert floor. The Huapa warriors break. They have lost their leader, they are outnumbered now, and they run. Some of your warriors want to chase, but Chaska, wise veteran, shouts for them to hold position. "Let them go," he calls. "Let them tell their clans what happens when you attack Kawachi." You stand over the fallen Huapa leader, still breathing but broken, his shattered knee twisted at an impossible angle. He looks up at you with eyes that show pain, but no fear, no pleading. A warrior to the end. Malku approaches, moving through the scattered bodies. Some Huapa, some Nazca, all equally still in death. He looks at you, at the blood covering you, at your swollen face, at your trembling hands. You held them, he says simply. The hummingbird is undefiled. You held them, Quilker. You nod, unable to speak. Now that the fighting has stopped, the reality of what you have done, what you have survived, crashes over you like a wave. You have killed. You have watched friends die. You are still alive, which seems impossible. Amaru is sitting on the ground, hugging his knees, rocking slightly. Chaska is checking the wounded. You count your group. Started with 12, now 8 standing, 1 dying, 3 dead. The Huapa left behind 13 bodies and their broken leader. The healers arrive with the dawn. The sun rises over the desert, painting everything in shades of gold and red that are too beautiful for the horror they illuminate. The dead are gathered respectfully. Your fallen warriors are wrapped in simple cotton shrouds, while the Huapa dead are laid in a separate row. There are rituals for both, because even enemies have souls that must be guided. The Huapa leader is still alive, barely. A healer woman named Mamacisa, ancient and skill-worn, examines his knee and shakes her head. This leg is finished, she says matter-of-factly. He will never walk on it again, but he will live if infection does not take him. Malku makes a decision that surprises you. Take him to Kawachi. Bind his wounds. He will be held in the storage complex beneath the Great Temple. Prisoner, not killed. Later, you will learn that Malku wants him alive to negotiate with the Huapa clans, to arrange peace or at least ceasefire. But now, you are simply grateful that you do not have to kill him personally, do not have to look into those defiant eyes and deliver the final blow. Mamacisa turns to you next. Sit, young warrior, she commands, and you obey because you are too tired to do anything else. She examines your forearm wound first, cleaning it with water infused with some kind of herb that stings like hornets. Not deep, she announces. It will scar, but you will keep use of the arm. Then she looks at your swollen face, probing gently with her fingers, and you wince. The bone is not broken, but you will wear this bruise for a moon's turn. She makes you drink something bitter that tastes like tree bark mixed with rotten fruit. 14 to 15. You walk back to Kawachi slowly. Your legs feel like they belong to someone else, heavy and disconnected. The 8 surviving members of your group walk with you, some limping, all changed. Amaru stays close to your side, but he has not spoken since the battle ended. His eyes are distant, seeing things that are not there. Battle shock, Mamacisa called it. Time will ease it, or it will not, she said with typical healer bluntness. Some warriors return from their first blood, others never do. The journey that took less than an hour last night now takes 3. The sun climbs higher, and the desert heat begins to build. You pass the mourning pilgrims who are beginning their trek to the temples, and they stare at your blood-soaked group with wide eyes, some pressing offerings into your hands, pieces of dried fruit, small stones painted with blessings. You accept them numbly. When you finally reach the Great Plaza, a crowd has already gathered. News travels fast in Kawachi. Runners have carried word of the battle, and everyone wants to see the warriors who held the northern geoglyph. You are not ready for this. You want to disappear into the darkness, to wash off the blood, to sleep for days. But Malku leads you to the center of the plaza, and people press close, touching you, calling blessings, some weeping with relief, others with grief for the fallen. A woman breaks through the crowd, older, face lined with sorrow. She grabs your tunic with both hands. "Sumac," she asks. "My son, Sumac." You have to tell her. You have to say the words. He fell bravely, you manage. He protected the sacred lines. Your voice breaks. Malku intervenes, gently taking the woman's hands from your tunic and speaking to her in low, comforting tones. Other families of the fallen are beginning to push forward, seeking news of their sons, their brothers. The plaza fills with the sounds of grief, wailing that echoes off the temple walls, a sound that will haunt your dreams for years. You are released from the crowd, guided by temple attendants to the ritual bathing area, a complex of small rooms where ceremonial cleansing happens before major rites. They strip off your blood-soaked tunic and pour jug after jug of water over you. The water runs red, then pink, then finally clear. Your skin underneath is revealed to be covered in small cuts and bruises you did not even feel during the fighting. The attendants dress you in fresh, white cotton, soft against your battered skin. They give you chicha to drink, the fermented corn beer that is both sacred and practical, thick with nutrients. You drink 3 full gourds and feel slightly more human. Then you are taken to a small side chamber off the great temple's main structure, a room reserved for warrior priests who need isolation after battle. The walls are painted with images of ancestors transformed into stars. A woven mat is laid out for sleeping, and several ceramic vessels of water and food sit ready. Rest, one attendant says. High Priest Malku says you have earned 3 days of separation to allow your warrior soul to reintegrate with your everyday soul. No one will disturb you unless you call. They leave, pulling a cotton curtain across the doorway. You are alone for the first time since yesterday evening. The silence is overwhelming. You lie down on the mat. Your body is so tired that it hurts to breathe. But when you close your eyes, you see the face of the first man you killed, see him falling, see the blood spray. You open your eyes quickly. You do not sleep that first day. You lie on the mat, staring at the painted ancestors on the walls, wondering if the men you killed are now among the stars too, or if only Nazca souls ascend. Do the Huarpa have their own ancestors watching, their own sacred places? You have never thought about this before. They were always just the enemy, a concept rather than real people. But you remember details now. The first man you killed had a woven bracelet on his wrist, red and yellow pattern, intricate work. Someone made that for him, someone who loved him. Your stomach churns, and you have to grab one of the ceramic vessels and vomit into it, though there is not much in your stomach to bring up. The attendant who comes to check on you at midday finds you sitting against the wall, knees drawn up, staring at nothing. She places fresh food nearby but does not speak, just leaves quietly. By evening, exhaustion finally overpowers the racing thoughts, and you fall into a fitful sleep. Your dreams are chaotic. You are running through the geoglyph lines, but they are moving beneath your feet like snakes. The Huarpa leader is chasing you, but his shattered knee bends in directions knees should not bend, and he laughs as he runs. Your father appears, falling from the temple scaffolding again and again, each fall taking longer, his face growing older until he looks ancient like Malku. You wake gasping, sweat-soaked despite the cool night air. The curtain stirs, and Amaru slips inside. He looks as terrible as you feel, eyes hollow, movements jerky. "Could not sleep," he whispers. "Keep seeing, keep hearing." He does not finish. You move over on the mat, and he lies down beside you, the way you used to sleep when you were children during the cold season, sharing warmth. The second day, Malku comes to visit. He sits cross-legged on the floor across from you and Amaru, and for a long time he says nothing, just sits in the silence. When he finally speaks, his voice is different from the commanding tone he used before the battle, softer, almost grandfatherly. "I have seen 43 winters of war," he says. "Small wars, feuds between villages, clan raids like what you experienced. In all that time, I have never grown comfortable with killing. The moment you become comfortable with it is the moment you lose your humanity, your connection to the earth and ancestors." He pauses, pulling out a small bag from his robe. Inside are coca leaves, and he places several in his mouth, chewing methodically. You are wondering if you are evil now, if the blood on your hands has stained your soul. It is not a question. He sees right into you. You are not evil. You defended sacred space. You protected your people. But the taking of life always creates a debt, not to the killed, but to yourself, to the balance. You must make offerings now for many moons. You must help grow life to balance the death you caused. Plant seeds, tend the irrigation channels, create textiles. Do you understand? You nod slowly. Amaru nods too. Malku reaches out and places one weathered hand on each of your heads, a blessing gesture. The warrior path is not glorious, he says. They will sing songs about you in the plaza, yes. Children will play at being Quilca, the defender of the hummingbird. But you know the truth now. You know the cost. Carry that knowledge wisely. On the third day, you finally feel ready to leave the chamber. Your body has healed somewhat. The swelling in your face has reduced, though the bruise remains spectacular shades of purple and yellow. Your forearm wound has scabbed over cleanly. More importantly, your spirit feels slightly more settled, like muddy water that has been allowed to sit until the sediment falls to the bottom. The plaza is different when you emerge. People still stare, still whisper, but there is something else in their eyes now, not just awe, but a kind of distance, as if you have crossed into a territory they cannot follow. You are marked, changed. The other 7 survivors of your group have been released from their own isolation periods. You find them gathered near the small irrigation canal that runs along the plaza's eastern edge, and without speaking, you join them. Chaska is there, the veteran, showing no visible trauma, but then you suspect he learned long ago how to bury it deep. The twins, Yupanqui and Tupac, are quieter than before, their usual banter gone. Hatun, the old slinger, greets you with a gap-toothed grin that does not quite reach his eyes. You sit together in companionable silence, watching the water flow. This is the water that makes Cahuachi possible, channeled from underground aquifers that are fed by distant mountain snow, traveling through carefully constructed subterranean aqueducts. Your civilization exists because your ancestors understood water, understood the desert's secrets. They are calling us heroes, Chaska finally says, and there is something bitter in his tone. Heroes. You do not respond. What is there to say? You did what had to be done. Would you do it again? If threatened, yes. Does that make it heroic? You do not know. A messenger arrives, a young girl, maybe 10 winters old, who approaches with nervous energy. Warrior Quilca, she says formally, clearly having practiced this speech. High Priest Malku requests your presence at the Great Temple. The Huapa prisoner wishes to speak with you. Your stomach tightens. You have not thought about the Huapa leader since the battle, have deliberately not thought about him, about his shattered knee, about the fact that you are responsible for crippling him. The other warriors exchange glances. Chaska gives you a small nod. Go, it says. Face this. You follow the girl through the plaza, past the ongoing preparations for the upcoming ceremony of the spring equinox, past weavers working on massive textiles that will be offered to the earth, past priests arranging ceramic offerings. The great temple looms before you, its stepped levels rising like a mountain built by human hands. You descend into the lower storage levels, cool rooms carved into the earth, reinforced with adobe, where surplus maize and beans and dried fish are kept for lean times. At the far end, behind a barrier of ropes and watched by 2 guards, is the Huapa leader. He is sitting against the wall, his ruined leg extended straight before him, splintered and wrapped in cotton bandages. When he sees you, something like a smile crosses his face. Little priest, he says, using the same mocking term as during the battle. but there is no heat in it now, just a kind of weary recognition. Malku stands nearby, watching. He asked for you specifically, the high priest says. I thought it wise to allow this conversation. Sometimes, understanding is more powerful than continued hatred. You step closer, though every instinct tells you to maintain distance. Why did you ask for me? You manage to say. The Huapa leader gestures at his leg with a grimace. Because you are the one who broke me. In my culture, that creates a bond. The warrior who defeats you becomes linked to your fate. Foolish, perhaps, but it is our way. He shifts, and pain flickers across his face. I am Kari. I led, the warband of the Huapa clan of Blackstone Mountain. I have fought 17 battles. I have killed 39 men. I have never been defeated until you. There is no shame in his voice, just statement of fact. I need you to know something, little priest. We did not come to destroy your city. We came for water rights. The drought in the highlands has been severe for 3 years. Our crops fail. Our children grow thin. We heard of Kawachi's great aqueducts, your ability to summon water from the earth, and we thought if we controlled the geoglyphs, we could petition the water gods as you do. You feel something shift inside you. This is not mindless violence. This is desperation. But we could have negotiated, you say. We could have shared water, arranged tribute, something other than war. Kari laughs, a bitter sound. Could we? Would your high priest have welcomed highland barbarians to his sacred sites? Would your people have given freely what they worked centuries to build? He has a point. You remember the contempt with which Kawachi people speak of Highlanders. Crude, violent, uncivilized. Would Malku have truly negotiated in good faith? What happens now? You ask Kari. Kari meets your eyes directly. Malku and I have spoken, long conversations in this dark room, through the pain and the night hours. He is wiser than I expected, more pragmatic. We have made an agreement. I will return to my people, crippled as I am, and advocate for peace. In exchange, Kawachi will allow limited access to certain water sources during the dry season, and we will provide highland products, potatoes, quinoa, wool from our herds, in trade. Not tribute, trade. Partners rather than enemies. You glance at Malku, who nods confirmation. The warpath leads only to more death, the high priest says. Both our peoples are small in number, vulnerable to larger threats from north and south. We cannot afford to kill each other when cooperation serves us better. But this alliance will only hold if people on both sides believe it is just, believe it is possible. That is why I wanted you to speak with Kari. You must carry this story, not just the battle, but this conversation, this understanding. Tell your people that the Huapa are not demons. They are humans facing the same struggles we face. You feel the weight of this responsibility. You are 23 years old. 3 days ago, you had never killed anyone, had never led warriors in battle. Now you are being asked to be an ambassador for peace, to reshape how your entire culture views their highland neighbors. Can you do this? Malku asks. It is not really a question. You have already proven you can do difficult things. I can try, you say. Kari extends his hand, a highland gesture you have seen but never participated in. Cautiously, you take it. His grip is still strong despite his injury, and he holds your hand for a long moment before releasing it. You fight well, little priest, he says. Perhaps you will teach me about your gods sometime, and I will teach you about ours. The weeks that follow are strange. You divide your time between physical labor, as Malku instructed, planting seeds and tending irrigation channels to balance the death debt. And speaking to groups of Kawachi people about the Huapa, about Kari, about the need for peace. Not everyone wants to hear it. Some call you soft, say the battle addled your mind. Others listen thoughtfully, especially the elders, who remember previous cycles of violence and the pain they brought. The spring equinox ceremony arrives, the most important ritual of the year, when the sun aligns perfectly with certain geoglyph lines, demonstrating the connection between earthly and celestial geometry. You participate as a warrior priest, wearing ceremonial dress that feels foreign now, the elaborate headdress, the painted patterns, the posture of sacred authority. But you have changed, and you cannot fully inhabit that role anymore. Kari is released on the morning of the equinox, carried in a litter by 4 Huapa warriors who were allowed to enter Kawachi under heavy escort to retrieve their leader. You watch from the plaza as they prepare to leave. Kari catches your eye across the crowd and raises one hand in salute. You return the gesture. People around you murmur, some approving, others shocked that you would acknowledge the enemy so openly. That afternoon, you are working in the terraced fields below the great temple, planting beans in the rich soil, when you sense someone approaching. It is Mama Sisa, the healer, carrying a basket of medicinal herbs she has been gathering. "How is the warrior's arm?" she asks, nodding at your forearm where the scar is still pink but healed. "Strong," you tell her. "The wound was clean." She sits down beside you on the edge of the terrace wall, letting her legs dangle. "You are still troubled," Mama Sisa observes. It is not a question. She reads people the way others read weather signs. You continue planting for a moment before answering. "I do what Malku asked. I plant life to balance death. I speak for peace. I fulfill my duties. But at night, I still see their faces. The men I killed. I still wake up reaching for my makana, thinking I am back in the battle." Amaru is worse. He barely eats, barely speaks. "We broke something in ourselves that night, and I do not know if it will heal." Mama Sisa pulls a sprig of some herb from her basket. You recognize it as munya, which grows in the highlands, good for stomach ailments and ceremonial purification. She crushes it between her fingers, and the sharp, minty scent rises between you. "You think you are the first warriors to feel this way?" she asks. "I have seen it in every conflict over 45 years. The warriors who feel nothing after battle, those are the ones who truly broken. You and Amaru, you feel too much, and yes, it hurts terribly. But that pain is proof that your souls remain intact, that you have not lost your humanity." She places the crushed herb in your palm. "Make tea from this tonight, you and your cousin. It will not cure the nightmares, but it will ease them slightly. And know this, young Quilker, time does help. Not because you forget, but because you learn to carry the weight differently. The load does not lighten, but your back grows stronger." She stands with a groan, knees crackling. "Now, I must deliver these herbs to the temple infirmary. Keep planting. Creating life is good medicine for your kind of wound." 2 moons pass. The agricultural season intensifies. This is the crucial period when water must be carefully managed, when every drop channeled through the ancient aqueduct system means the difference between full granaries and hungry winter. You have become skilled at irrigation work, learning to read the water's flow, understanding where channels need repair, where silt accumulation requires clearing. It is meditative work, this partnership with water, and you find it soothes your spirit in ways nothing else does. One morning, you are working with Amaru on a section of underground canal that has developed a leak. You have to crawl into the narrow tunnel with oil lamps, find where the adobe lining has cracked, and patch it with fresh clay mixture. The work is claustrophobic, dark, difficult. Amaru has been silent all morning, but in the close confines of the tunnel, he suddenly speaks. "I have decided to give up my warrior priest status," he says quietly. "I cannot do it again. If there is another battle, I will not fight. I would rather be exiled than pick up weapons again." You stop working, clay oozing between your fingers. In the lamplight, Amaru's face is haggard. He has lost weight, his eyes are sunken, and you realize he has been suffering even more than you knew. "Malku will understand," you say carefully. "There is no shame in knowing your limits, in choosing a different path." Amaru laughs bitterly. "Everyone will think I am a coward. My family will be ashamed. But I do not care anymore. I cannot keep pretending I am fine. I am not fine. I will never be fine." You reach out and grip his shoulder, clay-covered hand leaving a mark on his tunic. "Then be not fine. But do it here, with your people, not in exile." "I will speak to Malku. There are other ways to serve Kawachi. You can work the fields, tend the canals, weave textiles. Warrior is only one role among many. You keep your word." That evening, you seek out Malku in the high priest's chamber at the temple's summit, a room you have only entered once before for your initial blessing as a warrior priest years ago. The walls are covered in textiles showing the sacred patterns, and the air smells of copal incense and age. Malku listens without interruption as you explain Amaru's situation, his decision, his suffering. When you finish, the old priest is quiet for a long moment. Finally, he speaks. "Amaru is not the first, and he will not be the last. War breaks people in different ways. Some, like you, carry the fractures but remain functional. Others, like your cousin, shatter completely. There is no dishonor in this. It simply is." He stands and walks to the window opening that looks out over Kawachi, the city spread below in the evening light, pyramids and plazas and irrigation channels forming a pattern as intentional as any geoglyph. "Tell Amaru he is released from warrior duties with full honor. Let it be known that he served bravely in the defense of the northern geoglyph and has earned the right to choose his future path. He can work as a canal tender, a position of respect. The water workers are the heart of our civilization. Without them, all our ceremonies and warriors mean nothing." Relief floods through you. "Thank you, High Priest." Malku turns back to you. "And you, Quilka? How do you fare?" You consider lying, offering the expected assurance that you are fine, healed, strong. But Malku deserves honesty. "I am managing. The nightmares are less frequent. The work helps. Speaking about peace helps. But I do not think I will ever fully return to who I was before the battle." "Good," Malku says, surprising you. "Who you were before was untested, theoretical, innocent. Who you are now has seen the worst of existence and chosen to respond with growth rather than bitterness. Hold on to that." News arrives 3 months after the battle. A delegation from the Huapa arrives, not warriors this time, but traders, carrying bundles of highland goods. Among them, walking with a carved wooden crutch, is Kari. The plaza buzzes with tension when they enter. People remember the battle, remember the fear and the losses. You are working nearby when the delegation arrives, and you see Malku emerge to greet them formally. You join the ceremony, standing with other warrior priests, but also with a new group that has formed, the Peace Council, a mixed body of elders, warriors, and trade specialists tasked with managing the new Huapa relationship. Kari sees you and grins. He looks better than when you last saw him. His leg is ruined, yes, but he has adapted, and there is colour in his face again, strength in his movements despite the crutch. The formal greetings and gift exchanges take time. All the ritual phrases and gestures that smooth relationships between peoples. Finally, as the sun begins its descent, you find a moment to speak with Kari privately. You walk together, slowly, accommodating his pace to the northern geoglyph. He has never actually seen it in daylight, having only crossed it at night during the battle. When you reach the hummingbird, he stops and stares. The lines stretch before him, pale against dark desert pavement, the bird's form clear from the small rise where you stand. "This is what we fought over," he says. "A drawing in the sand. A prayer to the sky gods," you correct. A declaration that we understand pattern and meaning, that we are part of something larger than ourselves. Kari nods slowly. In the highlands, we build stone towers called chulpas where we place our dead, so they stand watch over us. Different expression, same need, to connect earth and sky, living and dead, now and forever. The trade agreement works. Through summer and into autumn, Huapa caravans arrive monthly with highland products. Potatoes that store well through winter, quinoa grain, thick wool textiles, dried meats from their herds. In exchange, Cahuachi provides access to certain water sources and sends coastal goods, dried fish, cotton textiles, ceramic vessels, shells that are valuable in highland ceremonies. You often work with the trade caravans, helping coordinate the exchanges, learning words in the Huapa dialect, teaching them words in yours. Languages blend at the edges, and you find yourself thinking in a mix of both tongues. Amaru has settled into his new role as a canal tender, and while you still see shadows in his eyes, he seems more at peace. He has found a woman, Koya, a weaver who lost her brother in the battle, and somehow their shared grief has become shared healing. They are speaking of marriage. You are pleased for him. Your own path remains unclear. You are 24 now, which is an age when most people have married and started families, but you find yourself unready for such commitments. You belong to Cahuachi, to the Peace Council, to the delicate web of relationships that keeps war at bay. It feels like enough for now. One day, a new Huapa delegation arrives, but this time they bring warning rather than trade goods. Their leader, a woman warrior named Chaska, who commands respect with her scarred hands and direct manner, requests an urgent meeting with the council. You gather in the great temple's council chamber. Malku, yourself, 3 elders, 2 trade coordinators, Chaska representing the warriors. Chaska wastes no time with pleasantries. "Raiders from the north," she says. "The Wari people. They have been expanding their territory aggressively, conquering smaller groups, demanding tribute from those they do not conquer. They are moving south." The council debates long into the night. The Wari Empire is different from anything you have faced before. Not raiders seeking water or resources, but an organized state with professional armies, administrative systems, roads that connect their territories. They absorb other cultures, impose their gods alongside local ones, demand regular tribute payments, and maintain garrisons of soldiers in conquered territories. Resistance, Chaska explains, has proven costly for most groups who have tried. The question, Malku says slowly, is whether we resist, negotiate, or prepare for conquest. None of these options is pleasant. Chaska, ever the warrior, advocates for strengthening defenses, training more fighters, perhaps forming a formal military alliance between Cahuachi and the Huapa territories. One of the elders suggests sending a peaceful delegation north to meet the Wari, to offer tribute and avoid conflict. Another elder argues for doing nothing. Perhaps the Wari will not come this far south. Perhaps the desert will dissuade them. You listen to all perspectives, but your mind is working through a different calculation. How long until they might arrive? You ask Chaska. She considers. Their forward scouts are perhaps 20 days' journey north. If they decide to move on Cahuachi, we would have maybe 2 months to prepare, maybe less. 2 months. Not enough time to build an army, but perhaps enough time to build alliances. An idea forms. What if, you say carefully, we organize a gathering? Invite not just the Huapa, but all the smaller groups in this region, the coastal fishing villages, the valley farmers, the desert communities. Many of them are as vulnerable as we are. Separately, we are easy targets. Together, we might represent enough complexity that the Wari would prefer negotiation to conquest. Your proposal is accepted, though not without skepticism. The next weeks are a whirlwind of activity. Messengers are sent to every community within 3 days' travel, carrying invitations to a great gathering at Cahuachi during the next full moon. You travel with some of these messengers, lending your status as the defender of the northern geoglyph to convince hesitant leaders. You visit fishing villages where people live in reed huts and worship the sea as a living entity. You visit valley communities that specialize in growing maize in terraced fields. You visit desert groups who move seasonally following underground water sources. Each has their own concerns, their own reasons to distrust cooperation, their own past feuds with neighbors. But the Wari threat is abstract enough, distant enough, that it creates common cause where closer conflicts might divide. You learn so much in these travels, that the world is far more diverse than you imagined within your temple city bubble, that there are dozens of ways to be human, to organize society, to relate to the sacred. A fishing village elder tells you about the god who lives in the waves, who sometimes takes people, but always returns bounty. A valley farmer shows you irrigation techniques different from yours, using surface canals rather than underground aqueducts, more vulnerable to evaporation, but simpler to maintain. A desert wanderer demonstrates how to read animal tracks to find hidden water. By the time you return to Cahuachi, the full moon is 3 days away, and you are exhausted but exhilarated. Malku finds you in the plaza. How many? He asks simply. 17 communities confirmed, you tell him. Maybe 200 representatives total, plus their attendants and guards. We will need to organize food, water, sleeping arrangements for hundreds of people. Malku smiles, something rare for him. Then let us begin. The gathering day arrives. Cahuachi transforms. The normally quiet ceremonial city becomes a living carnival of cultures. The plaza fills with temporary shelters made from reed mats, cloth canopies, even some leather tents from the highland groups. Cooking fires smoke everywhere as different groups prepare their traditional foods, and the air fills with competing scents. Grilled fish, roasted roots, corn beer, unfamiliar spices. Children from different communities eye each other warily, then begin playing together with the ease children have before they learn to maintain adult divisions. You are everywhere, greeting delegations, resolving minor disputes over camping space, ensuring everyone has water access, translating between groups. By midday, you are exhausted again, but there is no rest. The formal gathering begins in the afternoon. Malku has arranged for everyone to assemble in the great plaza, seated in a massive circle that includes perhaps 300 people. He stands at the center, and despite his age and clouded eyes, his voice carries to all. We are many peoples, he begins. We speak different dialects, worship different names for the sacred, organize our lives in different patterns. But we share this land, this desert, these mountains, and we share a threat. He gestures to Chaska, who steps forward and describes what she knows of the Wari, their armies, their methods, their expansion. Then Malku calls on you. Quilca of Cahuachi will speak of what we propose. Your heart pounds as you stand. 300 faces turn toward you. You think back to the night of the battle, when you were terrified and certain you would die. This is different fear, not of physical harm, but of failure, of inadequacy. But you begin speaking anyway. We cannot become the Wari, you say, your voice growing stronger as you speak. We cannot abandon who we are, how we live, the relationships we have with our lands and our ancestors. But we can choose to stand together. You speak of trade networks that could develop, sharing resources from coast to highland. You speak of mutual defense, not a permanent army, but an agreement to support each other if threatened. You speak of regular gatherings like this one, where disputes can be resolved through words rather than violence, where young people can learn from each other's traditions. The Huarpa and Cahuachi fought a battle half a year ago, you continue, and you see Kari in the crowd nodding. We killed each other's people. We created grief and pain. It has not been easy or perfect, but we are both still here, both still ourselves, and both stronger for the alliance. You pause, looking around the circle. The Wari will come whether we unite or not. If we remain separate, they will absorb us one by one, easily, with little cost to themselves. If we unite, we become complicated, a web of relationships they must navigate carefully. We might still end up paying them tribute, but we would do so from a position of strength, with our identities intact, with continued control of our sacred sites and ways of life. The gathering is silent when you finish. Then, surprisingly, one of the fishing village elders, the old woman who told you about the sea god, stands. The young priest speaks sense, she says in her creaking voice. I remember the last time foreigners came, with promises of protection and demands of tribute. Those who stood alone disappeared. Those who had allies survived. The debate continues for hours. Some communities agree immediately. Others have concerns. What if one community betrays another? How will disputes within the alliance be resolved? What about existing feuds between specific groups? You work with Malku, Chaska, and other respected leaders to address each concern. Protocols are discussed, agreements sketched in sand and memorized, since most people here do not use writing. By sunset, a framework emerges. The Alliance of the Southern Desert, a loose confederation with no single leader, but with a council of representatives, meeting at Cahuachi twice yearly. Trade routes will be protected collectively. Water sources will be shared according to need. Disputes will be mediated before escalating to violence. If the Wari come, a messenger system will alert all communities, and representatives will gather to decide collective response. 13 communities commit fully. 4 more commit provisionally, wanting to see how it works. That night, there is celebration. Food is shared across cultural boundaries, and someone brings out drums and flutes. Music fills the plaza, different rhythms and melodies at first, then finding unexpected harmonies. You find yourself sitting with an exhausted but satisfied Malku. You did well, the old priest says. Your father would be proud. Your aunt would be proud. I am proud. Coming from Malku, this is extraordinary praise. I could not have done it without your teaching, you reply. Without the battle, actually. Without understanding what war costs, I would not have been able to speak convincingly for peace. Malku chuckles. Perhaps that is the purpose of all suffering, to transform us into people who can prevent others from suffering the same way. Or perhaps I am just an old man finding meaning where there is only chaos. Either way, sleep well tonight, young Quilca. Tomorrow, we must plan for when the Wari actually arrive. 3 weeks later, the Wari scouts arrive. They come openly, not hiding their presence. 4 men wearing unfamiliar style tunics with geometric patterns unlike anything local. carrying copper-tipped spears that mark them as possessing technology more advanced than your bronze and stone. They request a meeting with Cahuachi's leadership. You are part of the greeting committee, standing with Malku, Chaska, and representatives from the Alliance who have remained at Cahuachi for this purpose. The lead Wari scout is a man named Ayar, perhaps 40 years old, with the bearing of someone accustomed to being obeyed. He speaks the coastal trade language competently, though with a heavy accent. I bring greetings from the Wari Empire and its divine leader, who rules from the great city of Huari in the north. We have observed your communities and are impressed by your irrigation works, your sacred sites, your textiles. The Empire wishes to establish relations. Specifically, we propose that this region accept Wari protection in exchange for annual tribute of textiles, dried fish, and access to your ceremonial knowledge. It is phrased as proposal, but everyone understands it as ultimatum. Ayar continues. Many communities have found prosperity under Wari protection. We maintain roads, provide military defense against raiders, facilitate trade across great distances. The tribute we request is modest compared to these benefits. Malku responds with careful courtesy. We thank the Empire for its interest. However, we must inform you that Cahuachi does not stand alone. We are part of an alliance of 17 communities spanning coast to highland. Any agreement would need to be negotiated with all alliance members, not just Cahuachi. Ayar's expression shifts slightly. Surprise, then calculation. An alliance? He asks. This is new information. We were not aware of such political organization in this region. The negotiations extend over 3 days. Representatives from the alliance communities cycle through, each speaking about their role in the Confederation, demonstrating that this is not Cahuachi pretending to speak for others, but a genuine multi-community organization. Ayar and his scouts observe everything: the diversity of peoples, the functioning trade networks, the coordinated water management systems. On the 3rd day, Ayar makes a revised proposal. The Wari Empire will recognize the Alliance of the Southern Desert as a semi-autonomous entity. In exchange for modest annual tribute, an agreement not to harbor Empire enemies, the Alliance will be left to govern itself, maintain its sacred sites, and continue its cultural practices. Furthermore, Alliance communities will gain access to Wari trade networks, connecting them to goods and ideas from far beyond their current range. It is still tribute, still loss of complete independence, but it is far better than conquest or absorption. The Alliance representatives, meeting separately, debate fiercely. Some argue for refusal, for resistance even if it means war. Others point out that the Alliance is too new, too untested for war against an empire. Compromise is not surrender, they argue. It is survival with dignity. You speak in favor of acceptance. We formed the Alliance to preserve ourselves, not to be destroyed in futile defiance. This agreement gives us time to strengthen bonds, to grow our networks, to become truly unified. Perhaps in 10 years, in 20 years, we will be strong enough to renegotiate or even resist. But today we are 17 communities who barely know each other, facing an empire that has conquered dozens of others. Let us live to see tomorrow. The vote is close, but acceptance wins. Ayar seems satisfied. He gets to return to his superiors with a peaceful integration rather than costly warfare. And he has seen enough to know that conquering these desert peoples would indeed be costly. 6 months pass. The first tribute delivery to the Wari is organized. Bundles of fine textiles, dried fish packed in salt, ceramic vessels. It stings to send these away, but the trade connections that open in return bring new possibilities: metal tools, exotic foods, knowledge of distant peoples. The Alliance continues to meet at Cahuachi, relationships deepening with each gathering. Amaru marries Koya in a ceremony that blends traditions, and you serve as witness. Kari visits twice more, and you have become something like friends, an outcome you never could have imagined during the battle. You are 25 years old now. Your hair is longer, worn in the style of Peace Council members. The scar on your forearm is faded to silver, barely noticeable. The massive bruise from the battle is long gone, though sometimes you still feel its ghost when weather changes. One evening, you stand at the northern geoglyph again, alone. The hummingbird stretches before you in the twilight, its wings forever spread in flight. You remember the terror of that night, the blood, the screams, the weight of the makana in your hands. You remember killing and being unable to sleep afterward. But you also remember what came after. The healing, the conversations, the building of something new. Malku is failing now, his advanced age finally catching up. You will likely become high priest within a few years, a responsibility you never sought but have grown into. Kawachi continues, as it has for centuries. The alliance grows stronger. The Wari remain distant but present, a reminder that the world is larger and more complicated than your ancestors knew. You touch the bone amulets at your neck, the same ones you wore into battle, and whisper thanks to your father, your aunt, all who came before. Then you turn and walk back toward the city, toward the cooking fires and the evening songs, toward the people who depend on you and whom you have learned to protect, not with violence, but with wisdom. The stars emerge above, those same ancestors watching. And in the distance, the stepped pyramids of Kawachi stand eternal, monuments to the belief that humans can create meaning from desert dust, can transform struggle into beauty, can survive not despite their differences, but because of them. The ceremonial city of the dead remains alive with purpose. And so, you've walked with Quilca from his first terrified moments of battle, through to his emergence as a peacemaker and leader. You felt the weight of violence and the harder work of building peace. The ceremonial city of the dead taught one young warrior priest that the greatest courage is not in taking life, but in preserving it. As you drift towards sleep tonight, remember, you're not in the desert heat or facing ancient wars. You're safe, comfortable, in your own bed. Let Quilca's journey fade like footprints in sand and rest well in the modern world. Sweet dreams.